Alrighty, council, I'll call us to order for our special council meeting. And first item in front of us is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Does any member have a pecuniary interest in this session? Seeing none at this time, let me know if you find yourself in that spot, and we will we'll adjust accordingly. So next up in front of us is a motion. I'll need a mover and seconder for the following: that in accordance with the Town of Penetanguishene Procedural Bylaw 2016-08, the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene move into an in-camera session to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Councillor Saunders, seconder please. Councillor LaRue, comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor? And we shall go to the back room to go in camera. Thank you. All right, council, I'll call us back to order, and I'll need a mover and seconder for the following motion that the council of the council of the town of Penetanguishene rise from in-camera session with a report. Mover and seconder, Councillor Rawson, Councillor Mayotte. All in favor? And that is carried. And then I'll need the motion for mover and seconder for the following motion. The council directs staff to inform the owner of 1535 Brunel Side Road that the land sale unit price outlined within the letters dated January 31st, 2017 has been declined, and the staff move forward as directed. Mover and seconder, Councillor Mayotte, Councillor Leroux. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That is carried. And finally, I need a mover and seconder for the following. That council select option 4 regarding the town-owned land at 2 Robillard Drive. Mover and seconder, Councillor Saunders, Deputy Mayor. Excuse me, and all in favor of that motion? And that is carried. Moving on to question period from the media and public. We have none. So announcements and inquiries, and I think Councillor Leroux, you had an inquiry for staff?
Your Worship, my inquiry was, is there anything that possibly could be done to see that the Brule Hotel building on our main street be finished or completed on the exterior?
So I'll look to staff for direction on that. Jeff, any thoughts on what our options are to encourage that facility to be brought up to standard?
I'm going to pass it over to Director of Planning and Development, Your Worship, and ask Andrea to speak to that.
Thank you. Andrea, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. You must have good timing because the town is currently working with the owner to see that the completion of that building happen in accordance with their building permit. So I'm not sure if you had a sixth sense that something may be going on, but there is. I can tell you the staff have contacted the owner and are working with him.
Thank you very much for that. Stacey, please.
I'm sorry, Your Worship. I was just noticing that with the land sale for 2 Robillard Drive, because we just mentioned option 4, I think it's important that we actually read the actual motion selected just to ensure that the decision of council isn't just simply option 4, that we actually make it transparent, that decision that has been made. I know you don't have that in front of you, and so I don't expect you to know that off the top of your mind.
Would that not come up in the bylaw? I can do it now. I'm fine to do it.
It would come up in the bylaw after the fact because there would be notice required.
Okay.
So
have you got something clerked up?
Well, I have the report here that I can read, and just
Yes,
to
please.
ensure that it's accurate.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the option 4 that was moved and seconded and carried, reads that council deemed the portion of property at 2 Robillard Drive, 4.1 acres as per attachment 1, surplus to the needs of the municipality, and that as per bylaw 2008-22, the chief administrative officer be directed to negotiate with the owner of 45 Robillard Drive, sole source, to sell the portion of 2 Robillard Drive, and that the clerk be directed to provide notice as per bylaw 2010-47.
Okay, thank you for that. And we had the mover, Councillor Saunders, and Deputy Mayor. You're fine with that motion as adjusted? Okay, council will just vote on that. All in favor is motion as adjusted, and that is carried. Thank you, Stacey. Any other announcements or inquiries? Councillor Levy, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Marshall. I've been noticing on Facebook news feed that the town of Midland and the county of Simcoe are sponsoring a composting and free rain barrel program over at Recreation Center in Midland. And I'm wondering if that's for county residents or just Midland.
No, for county residents.
Okay,
Yep,
that
you're
wasn't
good.
clear.
Yep. Okay, it wasn't okay. I'll
I-
mention that to staff when we announce that. Okay, thank you for
you.
sharing that. Yeah. A motion to adjourn. No, sorry, Councillor Deputy Mayor.
I may ask Councillor Levy to elaborate. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, it's North Simcoe Recreation Center in Midland. I don't have the date. I'm not actually on Facebook during the council meeting often. But it's free compost, free rain barrels, and one other thing, wood chips or something. And it's not open to contractors or professionals, and it looks great. I'm really excited about it, but I wanted to make sure that it was for included Penetanguishene residents.
So the compost and the wood chips are directly at the North Simcoe.
Yeah. I think what we'll do is ask the clerk to post that on the town's social media sites, right? Thanks.
We can tweet it and we can Facebook it and do all those magical things. Mover and seconder to adjourn, please. Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Mayotte. All in favor? We adjourn. Stacy, it looks like about 6:58. All righty, I'll call our council meeting to order at 7 o'clock and welcome everybody and thank you for coming. And I see Christine joined us here tonight from the Cancer Support Center, so welcome, Christine. Council, if you can join me in the council commitment, please. We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed upon Penetanguishene and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and peace that we enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. We ask that all in attendance and those who cannot be here to assist us in promoting good government. May our decisions as members of council be enlightened. May we all be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town for the benefit of all and to make good laws and wise decisions. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3A, and it's moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the agenda of the regular council meeting of May 10, 2017 be approved as presented. Any comments or questions on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote then. All in favor? And that is approved. Does any member have a pecuniary interest in tonight's session? I know I do, and it's a planning matter. And Stacey, could you remind me of which one it was?
Absolutely, Your Worship. It was the bylaw 2017-32, I believe, or 31. Give me 1 second. 31.
31, thank you very much, yes. And the reason for that is I own property in the Main Street that could be impacted by our decision. Thank you for that. So when that comes up, I'll just pull that bylaw and then turn the chair over to the Deputy Mayor. All right, so moving on to adoptions of minutes not already confirmed. And the first one in front of us is 5A, and it's moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that the following minutes of council meetings be confirmed, adopted as circulated. Special Council Meeting 26th of April 2017, Council Meeting April 26, 2017, and Committee of the Whole 2017. Any comments, questions, errors, or omissions noted on those minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote in favor. And those minutes are approved. Moving on to agenda item number 6, consent agenda, and we have none before us. Moving on to agenda item number 7, presentation and considerations of reports from Committee of the Whole. And the first one in front of us is moved by Councillor LaRue, seconded by Councillor Mayat, that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to the Recreation and Community Service section be approved. Does anyone wish to pull any of the items under RCS for further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Then all in favor? Those are approved. Moving on to planning and development, it's moved by Councillor Levy, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to planning and development services section be approved. And does anyone wish to pull any of these other items for further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Then all in favor? Those are carried. Moving on to transportation and environmental services, recommendation moved by Councillor Roston, seconded by Councillor LaRose, that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to transportation and environmental services section be approved. Council wish to pull any of these items for further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Then all in favor? Those are approved. Moving on to finance and corporate services, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the recommendations contained within Committee of the Whole report related to finance and corporate services section be approved. Does anyone wish to pull any of these items? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote then. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on to agenda item number 8, matters for consideration. It's moved by Councillor Ross and seconded by Councillor LaRose that the initial acceptance of the following underground municipal services within Phase 2 of the Harbour Point subdivision be approved. Water distribution system, including all appurtenances. Am I saying that right? Appurtenances? Brian, help me with that one.
Appurtenances.
Appurtenances, thank you very much. Sanitary sewer system, including all appurtenances. You're not having this word come up too often, are you? And storm sewer system, including all appurtenances. What Brian said, but excluding the storm sewer and structures outlined within the staff report. And finally, a permanent structure up to and including granular A, excluding curb and gutter. Councillor LaRose, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is for the Harbour Point subdivision, known as Belil Heights for most of us around that know that it's coming. I had two little concerns with it, which we'll get Brian to address for us. And one was the fact that we're accepting a road without the first course of asphalt. That's something that we normally don't do. I have talked to him about it, and it is forthcoming, so I don't think we're going to have a problem with it. The only other inquiry we had about it was the fact that they hadn't done the camera work for the drainage at the back properties where they back on to the ones that we were originally having a problem with now, and I just would like for us to know that just before we pass it to make sure that we're comfortable with the explanation that will be forthcoming as to how we're going to fix that.
Thanks. Brian, can you speak to those two issues for council, please?
Thank you. Through your worship to Councillor LaRose, the asphalt, base asphalt, is not a requirement in the subdivision agreement for initial acceptance required for building permits. And that's why this is being rushed or not being presented before council. It's a key requirement in terms of getting building permits for the subdivision. We had discussions with the developer last fall regarding the base course asphalt. It was indicated to us that he wouldn't be in a position to put the base course asphalt down prior to getting building permits. He's agreed to, and it's in the subdivision agreement, that any granular A material that's contaminated as part of his works on site is to be removed and replaced with good competent material at his cost. And it's inside the subdivision agreement as such. So I was agreeable to that with that clause in the subdivision agreement. So that's in there. They've submitted their certification for the pavement structure and the underground works. Deficiencies have been noted, and holdbacks for those deficiencies have been included or will be included within the letter of credit reduction. As far as the storm sewer structures that have not been cambered yet, they haven't been installed. As soon as we have the sign-off and agreement with the Phase 1 property owners, those grading works can be completed. And as such, the grading works and the storm sewer structures will not affect the actual operation of the Phase 2 works. So we're excluding that from this initial acceptance, which will come forward for a future initial acceptance by council when they're completed.
Council, any other questions for either Councillor LaRose or the director on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote then. All in favor? That is carried. Moved on to agenda item 8B. It's moved by the Councillor Saunders, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that the Council receives the CAO Report 2017-03 and endorses the Service Delivery Review Project as presented, and staff be directed to release a request for a proposal in accordance with the terms of the reference provided, and finding that Council considers the appointment of 3 members of Council to serve on the Service Delivery Review Steering Committee. Councillor Saunders, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had a meeting earlier today with our CAO to get his view behind the scenes of what this was all about and what his hopes were. And I'm going to let him speak to the detail of it, but I have to tell you I walked away very, very impressed with the fact that Jeff is taking this initiative. This is the first time in my knowledge that the town will have undertaken this kind of study. Typically with these kinds of study, there's a little bit of nervousness because of what the coordinator is going to be looking into and find, and there's a certain amount of, is he here, is this a witch hunt? And I want to assure everybody around the table this is not a witch hunt, not at all. This is an attempt for us as a town to gain a sense of the extent to which we are meeting the hopes and dreams and aspirations of the citizens of our community. And so I have to tell you, as one individual of council, I am extremely supportive of this initiative, and I'd like to turn it over to Jeff.
Jeff, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Saunders. So just kind of in a nutshell, just to kind of highlight kind of how I envision this unfolding and kind of what it's about. If Council will recall, I had pitched this project during the 2017 budget deliberations, and really the premise of the project from my perspective is to ensure that we as a town are delivering the right services in the right fashion in the most efficient, effective, and cost economical manner that we possibly can. It will review the services we provide today and how we provide them, but it will also review and go through a process of whether or not there are services that we don't provide today that perhaps we should entertain or contemplate as a municipality. So ultimately, that's kind of in a very summary fashion how I see the project and the purpose of the project. I've outlined the project scope in the report, and I think that's fairly self-explanatory. It will also do a comparative review of personnel and do that from an organizational structure perspective. And ultimately, from a timing perspective, I anticipate that this would be a 5 to 6 month process with an interim draft report being presented in the fall, in hopes that if there are some obvious pieces or outcomes from the report, that we could incorporate them in the 2018 budget. I should note that the town of Midland, our neighboring municipality, is also going through a very similar process. They're a little bit ahead of us in that they've already got their consultant selected and they're not going through an RFP process. But I do suggest that we do go through a competitive process. And lastly, as the report outlines, I've suggested the steering committee makeup of 5 employees, of which I would, as CAO, select and get a good cross mix: 1 director, 1 middle manager, and 3 frontline staff, and then further 3 members of council to get a good cross mix on council. My suggestion is to get a good cross mix from the various sections and look at either at presumably the chairs of 3 of the sections. I do suggest that Finance and Corporate Services plays a large role. And that in terms of the other sections, I think it would be up to council, but I would note that there are some sections that incorporate a much larger component of the municipality, not only from a budgetary perspective, but also from a community services perspective. And I'm happy to field any questions or comments.
Thank you for that. I think the chair of FCS is, deputy mayor is also the chair of our Human Resources Committee, and it strikes me that the chair of T&E and the chair of RCS are the two larger departments. So, with the forgiveness of the chair of planning, unless you desperately want to be on there, I think the three obvious council choices are pretty obvious in front of us. So, do we need a amendment to Councillor Saunders' motion to put to add those three names into play for council decision, Stacey? If so, I'll certainly move it. Councillor Saunders, please.
Your Worship, I appreciate your candor and your forthrightness in volunteering three people from council to participate. However, that said, I think it's more appropriate for council itself to make that recommendation, and I'd be very interested in hearing expressions of interest from around the table, and see if in fact there are other people around the table that would like to be involved in this kind of exercise.
Having said that, point of order was I was looking for a seconder to add those three names. So if I have a seconder, we can certainly have the conversation. Councillor Rawson seconds that. So now the floor is open for other suggestions. Councillor Levy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, I think this should be strictly a staff initiative initially, and then all 9 people at the council table will have an opportunity, I'm sure, to interact with the with the findings. I think we should let staff have the first crack at this and see what they come up with.
Any other comments? Councillor Rawson, please.
Thank you, Worship. I too had an opportunity to discuss this with the CEO last week. I think it's very well done and well articulated. I think it's a great future piece to help us plan for the future, not just next budget cycle, but for the future of what we want to do. So I think a lot of good work went into this, a lot of great thought went into this. So I think Jeff did a great job in this, and I think this goes backwards to the last budget cycle. I don't think this was crafted in the last 3 or 4 weeks. This has been thought out for some time, so I think great work was done. And I'm more than willing and interested to participate in the process.
Councillor, other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor, please.
I, too, Your Worship, have had discussions with the CAO in reference to this. I think his reasoning to have council members at the table was very good, and perhaps he'd like to chair that, or like to elaborate on your thoughts in reference to that, Jeff. You did say that bringing council into the mix, certainly we can vent things perhaps before they come to council for full review, not that any of whatever unfolds within the committee certainly will come to full council, but it was just if there was something missing or a different thought that council could bring forward. So, Jeff, maybe you'd like to elaborate on that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dubois and Your Worship. So from my perspective, having members of council sit on the steering committee is not uncommon. Certainly our neighboring municipality in the town of Midland is proceeding in a very similar fashion. And I've been part of a similar review in the past as well, whereby members of council have sat on a steering committee. It really provides an opportunity to engage not only staff but also members of council in advance, so that if there are pieces or clarification that is required, not only from a compliance perspective but also from a community interest perspective, that can be provided in advance of a draft report getting slapped on council's desk and in front of council. I really do see this as an opportunity to do a positive, to be a positive mechanism for a similar review. As I said, in my experience in municipal reviews, and I've also been part of a healthcare review, and certainly the board, or in this case council, generally plays a role in a steering committee capacity. And I've kind of outlined on page 3 of the report, from my perspective, what the steering committee's role would be. The steering committee's role would not be to change or influence the consultant's recommendations or findings, but rather provide clarity in a number of respects, provide some input from a communications perspective, provide some input from a community consultation perspective, and in some sense be a bit of a conduit, so that we're not essentially getting a large surprise come the end of the process.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments on the amendment in front of us? Councillor Leroux, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I concur with Councillor Ross, and it's a magnificent document, and I think Jeff has put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's something that I agree with Councillor Saunders. This is really something very worthwhile for the municipality and the community, and I did have discussions with the CAO in regards to it as well, and if it so be, I would be more than happy to sit on this committee.
Thank you. So then I'll call for the motion, or the amendment in front of us, and the amendment moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ross, and the council considers the appointment of 3 members of council, the chairs of FCS, RCS, and T&E, to serve on the Service Delivery Review Committee. Any final comments on this for a call for vote? All in favor of that motion? Thank you very much. And then we'll go back to the main motion as amended. The council receives a report 2017-03 and endorses the Service Delivery Review Project as presented, and that staff be directed to release a request for proposal in accordance with the terms of the reference provided, and that council considers the appointments, the council appoints. Sorry, I'm crafting this up here, Stacey. I'm doing some clerk work. And the council appoints 3 members of council to serve on the committee, which are the chairs of Finance and Corporate Services, Recreation and Cultural Services, Transportation and Environmental Services, to serve on the Service Delivery Review Steering Committee. That was nowhere as good as you would have crafted up, Stace, but I think we get our point. All in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? And that is carried. All righty, and we're moving on to, where are we moving on to? Oh, bylaws, sorry. Yeah, so it's moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. The Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduced the following bylaws, 2017-30 and 2017-32, and that these bylaws be read a first time, deemed to be read a second time, a third time, and carried. I pulled that out. So it's 30 and 32 what we're dealing with, but thank you, Councillor Lee. Yes, Stace?
I'm sorry, we just missed a couple of items, notice of motion and notices that have been previously given.
Or did I flip a page on us? Okay. Okay, I'll just pause in this, and thank you, Stacey. There's no notices of motion which have been previously given. Anybody have a notice of motion to bring forward in tonight's session? Seeing none, we'll skedaddle right back to 11A. So the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduced the following bylaws, 2017-30 and 2017-32, and that these bylaws be read a first time and deemed to be read a second and third time and carried. Any comments on either one of these 2 bylaws? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That is carried. And I'll turn the chair over to the Deputy Mayor, just for this one here.
That the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduce the following bylaw, 2017-31, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2000-02 as amended of the Corporation of the Town of Penetanguishene, in brackets, dwelling units in the commercial general zone, and that the bylaw be read a first time and deemed to be read a second and third time and carried. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very much. Question periods from the media and public. I don't have Ian here tonight. Christine, you got a question for us? None. How about Elizabeth? Nope. Consistent. All right, and finally moving on to 14A, which is our confirmation bylaw. Announcements and inquiries. Sorry we did that earlier tonight, but yes, please go ahead. Yes, sorry, Dan.
Oh.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you, Your Worship. Who's on? Oh, all right. I'm having a real problem here, guys. This has been a pet peeve for a number of years, and I'm past the point of not being happy about this. About the middle of April, the town sent out a newsletter in the water bill. I asked before it went out, I asked when it went out, I've asked since it has went out. And for another whole year, our staff has gone out of their way to make sure that certain people do not receive these. So I have checked with a number of people in my area that do not receive them. I've checked with the people that lived up on West Street, just to see if they weren't just picking on a certain area, and they have not received it. So this will be the very, very, very last time I'm going to talk to council about this. The next time, we're going to have a huge issue. So somehow, before we leave here tonight, I would hope that council would instruct staff to make sure that those letters are sent, whether they are hand-delivered by staff or whether we're going to send them UPS, or how do we get them out? But this has got to stop. I cannot believe in this day and age, with all the technology we have, that we can't get 136 letters to one affected group of our town. It's disgusting.
So I'm going to call out a point of order here, though. So I take personal offense to saying staff did that intentionally. Unless you got proof, retract those words.
Well, the proof is, your worship, is that council made direction for them to do it. We have checked it whether they were supposed to do it 3 times. This has been how many years? Years. I can't believe that I have to come and sit here and make an issue about why one group of people, just because they don't have on our water system, cannot get a communication from our town. So if they were instructed 3 times, just for this one alone, I went through this last year when we went to send it out. I went through it the year before. So do we want to go proof over the last 18, 20 years since restructuring took place? There's got to be a reason.
I'm looking for a professional decorum here, Councillor LaRose, right? You don't be throwing staff under the bus with accusations that you can't substantiate. You can articulate that our citizens are upset. Hear me through. You can articulate that our citizens are upset. They didn't get information that was required, and that needs to be corrected. That is fair game. Attacking staff in the manner which you have is not fair game, and I wish for you to retract those statements.
It's not an attack. We'll leave it as an inquiry. Why were they not sent? How's that?
That's a fair inquiry. CEO Lees, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Certainly, a little less than a year ago, certainly staff were very clearly heard the request from council to ensure that this does, in fact, happen with mailouts. I would suggest, and I'll just be very candid with council, there was a miscommunication amongst staff at a staff level. I need to be extremely clear with council. This was not done intentionally. There was a number of conversations about this, and quite frankly, it was a miscommunication. We had a staff absence that did attribute to the miscommunication. I'm happy to report that they were printed on Friday. The 1,200 notices were printed on Friday before the weekend, and they, as of noon today, I think, or shortly after noon today, they are with Canada Post, and they will be circulated accordingly. As soon as we realized that they were not, that they did not go out as we had wanted and anticipated, we acted on it from a staff level. So I can certainly, not only the inquiry from Councillor LaRose, but also a few conversations at a staff level, I can assure you that this is certainly something that is well on our radar. And when we do our next newsletter, I can assure you that this won't be the case.
Sorry, so I just want to so did we inform Councillor LaRose that they didn't go out and that it was not intentional, that there was an oversight in the staff?
Through your worship, no, we haven't. I've just, by way of me elaborating that or articulating that tonight, that was my intention with that.
Thank you.
So, your worship, just one last comment. I can't believe that when I asked 2 weeks ago at council, I was assured by staff that they were done in the mail. I seen them go, is what I was told. I asked 4 weeks ago, and was assured that it's happening.
Again, my issue with your own comments today were accusing staff of doing something intentionally. So I don't take any other issue with your other points, but accusing staff of doing something intentionally in this is a misrepresentation. The CEO clearly articulated there was an oversight, and obviously you can tell from our CEO's perspective an oversight that he's not overly happy about. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number, any other announcements or inquiries? Yeah, Deputy Mayor, please.
Your Worship, just a reminder to the citizens of our fine community that this weekend is Treasure Days, so really hoping that we will see good participation in this event. It is one day, Saturday, and if you put things to the curbside, you need to, if they aren't picked up, you have to bring them back in by 5. So hopefully there will be a lot of people participating.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to our confirmation bylaw. It's moved by the Councillor Saunders, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. The confirmation bylaw 2017-33 are be signed and sealed by the Mayor and the Clerk. All in favor of that motion? We are adjourned at 7:29. And we'll move into Committee of the Whole. And I'll call us to order for our Committee of the Whole meeting. And the first item in front of us is the approval of the agenda and recommended action that the Committee of the Whole agenda for May 10, 2017 be approved as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Ross and Councillor Lauder. Comments or questions on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Does any member of council have a pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. If you find yourself in that spot as we move along, let me know and we'll address it appropriately. Move on to Section 4, Item A, Transportation and Environmental Services, and I'll turn the chair over to Councillor Rawson, please.
Thank you, Worship. 4A is our consent agenda, that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. We have no items tonight. B is matters for consideration. Number 1 is a verbal update regarding the Main Street Sewage Treatment Plant project. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the last update 2 weeks ago at Committee of the Whole, I've met with our consultant, who's also coordinated with our contractors for the completion of the remaining deficiency items. He's also got a schedule from the contractors regarding their arrival on site and estimated completion date. The mechanical and construction-related works in terms of the general construction being handled by Western Mechanical. Their anticipated arrival is early June, and their anticipated completion is 4 weeks for their work on site. And for Walker's Electric, who will be handling the electrical work, they'll be on site in early June as well, and their anticipated completion is also 4 weeks.
Thank you, Brian. Any members of council have questions for Brian on this item? Seeing none, thanks, Brian. Number 2 is the award of the 2017 concrete sidewalk tender. It's recommended that the concrete sidewalk tender submitted by Charles Morden Construction Incorporated for $69,587.50 plus HST be approved. A mover? Councillor Rose, seconder. Councillor Mayat. The report's attached. Any questions, Deputy Mayor?
I just wanted to comment that I was very happy to see that here and that we're getting this work done now. A lot of times our sidewalk repair and new sidewalks, it's the fall of the year when we get it done, and I was very pleased to see that here early.
Councillor Roux.
I might add, Mr. Chairman, that I'm very pleased to see the new sidewalk that is going to be going in on Robert Street East. I've been hounded about that for 20 years, so it's so nice to see it happening.
Any other members have any questions? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That item is carried. 3 is the award for asphalt resurfacing tender at various locations. It's recommended that council accept the asphalt resurfacing tender submitted by Georgian Paving for $186,995 plus HST. A mover? Councillor Roux, seconder. Councillor LaRose. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. C's referrals, upcoming agenda and staff. Do any members have any additions, revisions, manipulations, tweaks? Seeing none. That the Transportation Environmental Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. Thompson's Road Extension Options, Severn Sound Environmental Association Park Maintenance Plan, Penetanguishene Bus Identification, Champlain Road Weight Limits, the Resident Reporting System, and the Transit Agreement Renewal Options. A mover? Mayor Marshall, seconder? Councillor Lauder. Sorry, Mike. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Question period from the media and public. Seeing none, it's back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. And we'll go into item number 5, Section B, Recreation and Community Services. And I'll turn the chair over to Councillor LaRue, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We start with the consent agenda. The recommended action that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. Penetanguishene Centennial Museum minutes dated March 23, 2017. Mover. Councillor Lauder, seconder, Deputy Mayor, all in favor. Thank you. Moving on to matters for consideration. 1, parking agreement with St. Anne's Church. Recommended action that option A be accepted and the terms and conditions of the draft agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Penetanguishene and St. Anne's Episcopal Church for the use of the church lands as a parking venue during the 2017 Urban Slide event be approved, and that the clerk be directed to bring forward the necessary bylaw for council approval. And I might ask our Director of Recreation to give us an overview on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there was a verbal agreement with the church in 2016 for the Urban Slide event to provide parking. It was not greatly accessed. However, we anticipate that with the movement of the event to Owen Street and with increased exposure, we may have greater attendance and require that parking. So we've used the agreement, the agreement for the outdoor skating rink as our template and just updated it at the request of the church.
None. Mover. Councillor Rawson, Councillor Rose, seconder. All in favor. Thank you. Number 2, the Penetanguishene Memorial Community Center office space. Recommended action that staff be directed to move forward with option E and further explore the possibility of eliminating the John DeRush boardroom, and that staff complete an analysis of the current usage rate of the boardroom associated with financial impacts and examine if the boardroom usage could be accommodated elsewhere in the Penetanguishene Memorial Community Center or in other town-owned facilities. And finally, that staff provide a follow-up report outlining the impact of eliminating the boardroom and the possibility of using the space for either the purpose of a pro shop or needs of the Penetanguishene Sports Hall of Fame. I am going to speak on this matter, and as a matter of fact, Councillor Mayette and I both are not in favor at this time of doing away with the John DeRush boardroom. I go back and know and realize what the Sports Hall of Fame people have done for our community. The John DeRush boardroom was named for a special reason. The man and his family raised over $250,000 in a 10-year period to go towards the Sports Hall of Fame and the addition to the Penetanguishene Arena. There was a fundraising committee brought up in that period, of which I played a part and was part of, who raised another over $200,000 on behalf of the Sports Hall of Fame. They have put extensive dollars and many, many, many volunteer hours into that community center, and the feeling is that I think that we have to move on with these people, and I am going to pass a motion, or recommend a motion, that we go with option C. And option C is coming into an agreement with the Sports Hall of Fame for a 5-year period. And you will find in your report what they are agreeing to pay or do in that 5-year period. They're proposing to pay $1,000 per year rental and an additional $5,000 per year in renovations to the Brian Orser Hall and kitchen, which we all know are in dire need. The other part of their request in their agreement would be that the town recreation section allocate $5,000 in match-up funds per year over the 5-year period, and I'm going to recommend that we include that in our agreement. So I'm recommending option C with this. And so I believe that Mr. Councillor Mayette is seconding this motion. Comments, concerns? Councillor Levy?
I'll be very brief. I fully support section on this. Option C is the only option that I can see that's workable. This is an amazing group of people that have done so much for our town, not only with the Sports Hall of Fame, but who've been on the forefront of volunteering and fundraising in a variety of different areas. So there are full partners in this project. They were great fundraisers when we desperately needed them, and we don't turn our backs on them now.
Your Worship?
So I'm not sure, I'm not seeing where we're turning our backs into the Sports Hall of Fame. That's why I'm a little confused. So the conversation is that as I understand it, is that somebody wants to rent the current space where the Sports Hall of Fame is and our staff is to open up a pro shop. So that creates employment, creates an opportunity for business. Similar to the town dock when you had the George and Queen in there, we found another revenue stream for the town that benefits the town. So I see the business opportunity there. And then I see the John DeRush boardroom being just exclusively used for the Sports Hall of Fame for their business purposes, their desks and their meetings. It doesn't have to lose their name. John DeRush boardroom can still remain. It's just that the boardroom now is occupied by the Sports Hall of Fame, 7/24/365. And those odd meeting that does occur there, we'll have to find another spot in town. So I don't understand why we're feeling that we're throwing the Sports Hall of Fame under the bus here. It seems to me that we're accommodating a business opportunity. We're accommodating the Sports Hall of Fame with the John DeRush boardroom, and we're respecting John DeRush, who I knew well. His name remains. I'm not seeing the downside. I'm not seeing where Sports Hall of Fame is being abused or mistreated, and I don't see where John DeRush's name is being abused or mistreated. So unless I'm missing something here, where is the offense towards the Sports Hall of Fame? I have to admit I'm confused on the conversation thread.
Your Worship, I don't believe that it's a thing of throwing the Sports Hall of Fame under the bus. They have asked for the use of that room. They did a year or so ago go through a tremendous little bit of turmoil in order to be able to use it again. They are prepared to do what they are wanting to do. I do understand that there was somebody that was talking about the interest of a sports shop or whatever the case may be. And I also understand that this person was talking about this as being through the Penetang Kings and the minor hockey. Well, I received an email here from I have been sent a copy of a Committee of the Whole report for Recreation Community Service. One of the highlights states that a representative of the Penetang Junior C Kings has expressed an interest in renting space for operation of a pro shop. As a vice president and on behalf of the president and the board, we have no interest and never have had any interest in renting space at the arena for the purpose of a pro shop. If an individual has expressed interest in renting space, it is not on behalf of the Penetang Kings. Paul Stack. I also received an email from the president of the minor hockey who indicated the same thing. So I don't know why we don't just play ball with the people in the Sports Hall of Fame who have given so much and are asking for very little and are willing to put so much back in. So, Your Worship, if there are no further comments, I am going to call a vote on it. All in favor? No? Councillor Lauder?
No, it's just exactly what are we voting on, please? We are
voting on option C. CAO?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to say a couple things, and then I just wonder if maybe we can ask our Director of Recreation just to clarify a few points, just so that Council has the information. Just from a staff perspective, we want to be clear that from our perspective, we were really coming at this in hopes that we could find a solution that might be beneficial for all parties involved. So just wanted to assure council and the community that certainly from staff's perspective, we weren't coming at this to do a disservice to any community group. And I just wonder if perhaps our Director of Rec, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, if you would suggest maybe she might just say a few words.
Sherry?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely, staff do not want to negate the contributions or the wonderful things that the Sports Hall of Fame does for the town of Penetanguishene. The piece around representative for the Penetang Minor Hockey and Kings, perhaps a better word would have been an affiliate. So it's not that person would be engaged, is suggesting that the Penetang Kings itself or the Penetang Minor Hockey itself would be submitting a proposal. However, that person is an affiliate with both of those organizations. I myself also did have a conversation with the president of Penetang Minor Hockey this week, and he just wanted to clarify with me that it's not their endeavor to specifically implement a pro shop, but they would, nor could they dictate that their players purchase all of their equipment and uniforms through that pro shop, but they certainly would like the idea that their members would be able to purchase and access skate sharpening, uniforms, equipment, that sort of thing within the town of Penetanguishene.
Thank you. I might add that we know that in the past, a pro shop was tried in the arena and it failed. And if a person, I have nothing against somebody or an individual wanting to start up a business in a pro shop or whatever the case may be. However, this request from the Sports Hall of Fame people is an ongoing thing. We have 3 storefronts that are empty down on the main street. If a person might be interested in starting a pro shop, there are 3 available spots right down on our main street that could be negotiated. So I return to my motion to have option C. I will call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Hi, Doug. Sorry, I just wanted to maybe put together an actual motion. I think in Director of Recreation's report, it says option C, and it sort of speaks to what wants to happen. And I just, while you were talking, I formulated a motion, and just so that it was clear what everyone was voting on, if you would mind indulging me and allowing that motion to be read, just to ensure that that's what was the direction?
Yes.
Okay. So it would be option C, that staff be directed to negotiate and draft a new 5-year agreement with the Sports Hall of Fame, and that other interested parties that the town has opted to inform the other interested parties that the town has opted to continue the relationship with the Sports Hall of Fame. So that would give Sherry the direction to inform.
Your Worship, should I be adding here the $5,000 per year commitment through a capital project through recreation, or let staff negotiate that? Okay, so it stays as such.
Okay, and I believe that based on what was described in the report, that the agreement will come back for committee to review and consider. So I think those details would be there as well.
Deputy Mayor?
Just a comment, is there not someplace else within the arena that perhaps a very small space could be allocated for a pro shop? I mean, I heard the mayor, and certainly there is an opportunity and should be an opportunity for all of the people that are using our arena to be able to access without having to go out of town. So I just hope that this isn't dead in the water, and that perhaps we can still keep looking within the facility to see if there is a space that could be utilized for a small pro shop.
Don't disagree.
Sorry, if I might.
Councillor Lauder.
If I might just ask, should there be a mention that the John Drush boardroom is going to stay as is in this motion? Because I think that was
But the motion that we've passed, it just does away with option E.
So the boardroom stays
Yeah, let me see. Referrals to upcoming, referrals to upcoming agenda staff referrals. That the Recreation and Community Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff, future agenda items, tourism, advertising, print and online for future consideration, recreation assets, parks and facilities analysis, cycling strategy, curling club operations review agreement, outdoor skating rink, Karma Ecology Garden report agreement, pickleball, and Rotary Park Pavilion rental review. Additions or deletions? Mover, Deputy Mayor, seconder, His Worship, all in favor. Thank you. Questions from media and the public? None? Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, and move on to section, item number 6, Section C, Planning and Community Development Services, and I'll turn the chair over to Councillor Levy, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Marshall. We'll start with the consent agenda. Recommended action, the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. Committee of Adjustment minutes, Downtown Improvement minutes, and Official Plan Review Project and Natural Heritage. Do I have a mover for those? Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Lauder. All in favor? And carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to matters for consideration, Zoning Bylaw Amendment ZA 5, 2016, dwelling units in semi-detached dwellings on Corbeau Crescent and Jennings Drive. Staff report PD 1702, recommended actions that a public meeting be held for the municipally initiated zoning amendment ZA 5, 2016, respecting lands on Corbeau Crescent and Jennings Drive to rezone from residential third density R3 zone to residential third density exception zone R3X, to permit 2 dwelling units within a semi-detached dwelling, and to reduce the minimum lot frontage and lot area. Did anyone have any, do I have a mover? Councillor LaRue, and seconded by Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Lauder?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to, with our director, I just want to emphasize that this amendment, if it is voted and accepted, is going to be fully enabled in our new official plan, as such, respecting all R3 zones within the town of Penetanguishene, or can you comment on that?
Thank you very much. Through you, Councillor Levy, to Councillor Lauder. It's perhaps a little bit premature to elaborate too much on what our draft official plan and what our new official plan may say. I can say that there is sufficient or significant direction from the province to allow for second dwelling units within all ground-based housing, including semi-detached and townhouses. So this proposed zoning amendment is in keeping with the provincial policies in terms of providing for additional housing space. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Andrea. And what I want to emphasize to the public is that what I've seen in the past is a lot of the zoning on a per-lot basis, and this is zoning an entire group of homes. And with our official plan, we're trying to be more consistent with our approach to zoning, and as such, open it up on a broad-scale basis, as just described by our director. Thank you.
Councillor Rose?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be voting no against this. I've been on record all the time going with that. As a congested part of town to begin with, they have a lot of semi-detached homes up there now. If you turn a semi into regularly now would be a fourplex. If you look at the driveway systems up there, because of the ditch and stuff like that, there's not room for one single car per unit. So none of those driveways up there that I went by and looked at could accommodate 4 cars. If 2 people in the home had a car, you have a possibility of trying to park 8 cars on one of those semi-lots now. So there's no room for snow clearing, snow storage, when the snow banks come. I think we're asking for trouble. I think we're going to end up having our density way too high for the way those subdivisions were planned and built. So don't really care what the province has to say about it. They don't live here. We live here. We have our snow. It's full. I just can see us in a few years saying some guy's going to be standing here saying, well, where am I supposed to park if I can't park on the road in the winter? And what would we tell him? Well, your house was constructed as a semi, it has, enough for 2 cars, and you guys are trying to put 8. So just the wrong space in town to do it.
Thank you very much, Councillor LaRose. Any other comments? Councillor LaRue?
I tend to agree with Councillor Rose. I'm very familiar with that area, and I already know that a number of those semis already have other units in their basements, and it is a very congested area, and allowing it legally, I don't think is the answer. So I will be opposing it as well.
Thank you very much. Any other? Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure I'm voting on the appropriate thing here. As I look at the recommendation, the recommendation is that a public meeting be held. Not that we approve this.
Right.
That the public meeting be held. Now, do I support a public meeting being held? Yes, I do. As I read the recommendation, that's all we're being asked to approve.
Very good point. Thank you, Councillor Saunders. So this is a motion that we go ahead and hold a public meeting and have the opportunity to hear the stakeholders in this tell us their concerns. So, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Site plan application SPA 0117, 143 Main Street, staff report PD 1730. Recommended action that site plan approval be granted to the property at 143 Main Street, Georgian Bay Cancer Support Center, subject to the removal of the 2 parking spaces in front of the building. Okay, Andrea, first of all, I'll ask for a mover. Deputy Mayor Dubo, seconded by Councillor Rawson. I'm sure there'll be discussion on this, so who is going to? The Mayor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I'm going to speak against the application, or sorry, the recommendation to not allow the parking spaces. I think the parking spaces in front of the facility can be worked out, and when I read the report, it's going to be staff-only parking, so there's not going to be congested traffic pulling in and out of there. There'll be 2 cars, staff coming in there for extended period of time, so when you normally work your shift or be there, you're there for hours, not minutes. So I will be voting against the recommendation to not grant the spaces, and hopefully encourage council to turn down that recommendation and actually vote in favor of allowing those 2 spaces. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I would ask the planning director why you're recommending that those 2 spaces be eliminated.
I will ask the
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You just jumped ahead of I was going to do that.
Very
Andrea,
good.
could you please explain strictly the planning philosophy involved in your recommendation?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So there are 2 aspects that we reviewed in examining this application for site plan approval. The first one is obviously our zoning bylaw, which is a regulatory document that sets out what the minimum requirement of parking spaces are to be required in that, for that property, for that land use. If you'll recall, the municipality changed the parking standards back in 2014 and did significantly reduce the amount of required parking spaces for office and retail. As a result, the only amount of required parking spaces that this facility is required to provide on-site is 5 parking spaces. And so they've shown 13 parking spaces, 12 of which are in the rear of the building and in the 2 that are proposed in front. So that's a regulatory document. It does not set out a maximum, however. It just sets out a minimum that should be required through an application. The second document that staff consulted was the Community Design Manual. This is also a recent approval from Council, and it's part of the site plan approval in the site plan bylaw itself. And there are many times throughout that document that it does talk about where parking should be and how to adequately and appropriately address the streetscape and the public realm for these types of buildings. And in there, you'll find them in the report. I touched on, I think, 3 or 4 of the different guidelines. And these are guidelines, obviously, so they're not regulatory. They do not require The council can choose not to adhere to their own guidelines if you don't want to. So in there, some things that they noted was try not to provide additional parking than the minimum that's required for the zoning bylaw. This would allow for less impervious surface, less asphalting on a private property, leading to more green space and greenery on the site. Just give me 1 second. Additionally, we're looking at sort of traffic and turn movements into where the parking's supposed to go on the property. I believe are all familiar with it, and it is on our main street. It's an older house itself. It has some heritage characteristics and curbside appeal, and that would be detracted from proposing parking and cars to be parked in front of that building. It also doesn't allow for, they provided some sidewalk space into the front entrance of the building. That was a relocation from the existing sidewalk that's done there. Again, a little bit not as straightforward as the existing sidewalk that they're proposing. So forward, so more in the community design manual, they do not recommend that we provide for any parking in front of buildings itself unless it's absolutely necessary. And you'll see you've seen the rest of the comments from the community design manual in the report. There are 4 comments, but those are some of the guidelines that are in the community design manual, and it would be my professional recommendation that there's adequate parking on site itself, and that parking in front of this building is going to detract from people accessing and enjoying the building. So my recommendation is to approve the site plan subject to those parking spaces being removed.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I wanted Andrea to have the opportunity to explain the planning principles, because she's bang on, she's done her work, it's a terrific report, she has the planning right. However, I will not be voting in favor of this. There are times when there are other circumstances in the community to allow us to say, well, that, Andrew's right, that's good planning, but there's another reality at play, that this very much needed group in our community who are doing such a terrific job feel they need that parking, and I support them in that. Councillor Lauder?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I fully agree, and I understand the planning aspect of this. However, I 100% back you, Madam Chair, with respect to what you said. The way I look at this is Georgia Bay Cancer Support Center is providing such a phenomenal force to our Penetang machine. That's the most important thing. We're not trying to build a mega city with tons of people just doing all sorts of things. We're trying to build a place that is amiable, people want to live in, want to be there. And one of the big aspects of that, and everyone here I'm sure is touched by cancer in some way, shape, or form, but the Cancer Support Center is giving so much to us. I actually have known the director for some time, but talked on the way out, and we received a letter recently adding to the reasons why the 2 parking spots out front might be good, especially with respect to employees. I actually feel that I would love to, as a cancer person, not that I am currently, however, as a cancer person, possibly in the future, I would love to be able to pull in and go to that healing circle and just spend time. The other thing is that, yes, entrances are more to the back, but it's not a matter of just rushing into the building. It's a matter of parking and walking and making your way. There's a lot of soul searching that happens throughout all those processes. So I personally, then I look at the offices to the immediate north and several locations down, and I see the parking lots that are currently there, and I say, all payment, all cars, for us to be able to have the Cancer Support Center put 2 parking spaces with very amiable environment is a blessing. So I'm totally in favor of requesting an amendment. Sorry, it's not a friendly amendment because it's taking out the big things here. Recommended action that site plan approval be granted to the property at 143 Main Street, Georgia Bay Cancer Support Center, period.
Sorry, Councillor Lauder, you can't do that. The motion on the floor is the exact opposite of that, so you can't put an amendment that
Sorry, it's not
frustrates
the
the main
exact
motion.
opposite. There's two parts. There's an approval of the site plan and the parking.
Right, so you're
So
trying to
I'm
get the
saying-
parking out front? Then you can't do that, because the motion in front of us is not to allow it, so you can't frustrate it. So you have to, the motion in front of us has to be defeated,
Yeah.
then you can move your motion. The issue is you can't frustrate that main motion, you can't do that, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Well, I wasn't sure you were finished. Councillor Rossin was first, and then Councillor LaRue.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think Andrea very well articulated this, but I'd just like a clarification if she can. Just to clarify, the proposal still meets and exceeds the requirements stipulated by our town rules and regulations and everything else. So if we approve this, they're still exceeding what everyone else would get in the town. So why don't we? Like, can we just clarify that piece? And
Through you, Councillor Levy, to Councillor Rawson, that is correct. There is a table in there that does demonstrate that the proposed site plan does provide additional, in excess of our requirements of our zoning bylaw for the parking.
If I may respond to that, Councillor Rawson, when you look at the unique type of group this is, and the events that they have, there will be more people going. I don't know exactly the numbers they get, but there are popular programs there that get a large number of people, and people being dropped off and people being picked up. So I think they know what they need as far as parking goes when you deal with staff and volunteers and instructors and the clientele they serve. So that's my take on it. And Councillor LaRue, and then we'll probably go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And exactly in the words and the comments that you are making, Madam Chair, is also the reason why I feel that there is no need to remove 2 parking spaces since actually they are on their own property and at some point in time the need may be there. So I will not be supporting to remove the 2 parking spaces.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? All righty. Now, where do we go from here?
Councillor Lauder.
Just going to ask you, by defeating this, does that give you direct? No. We have to come up with another motion. Sorry, Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to propose another motion. The motion being recommended action that the site plan approval be granted to the property at 143 Main Street, George Bay Cancer Sports Center, period.
Okay. A seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Dubo? All those in favor? And carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Christine. All righty. For some strange reason, planning and development is dealing with a wake issue here. Wake signs for Penetanguishene Harbor, staff report BL 1703, recommended action that staff be directed to pursue the installation of Watch Your Wake courtesy signs at private marinas and at the town dock in the town of Penetanguishene in accordance with staff report BL 1703, and that the size of the Watch Your Wake courtesy signs be selected at the discretion of the property owners in compliance with sign bylaw 2013-86. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor LaRue, seconded by Mayor Marshall. Discussion. How about before the discussion, we ask Andrea to just give us an update on where this is coming from, just to remind us. And then we'll go to Councillor Saunders.
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. You do have a detailed staff report in front of you. However, just to follow up, there was a deputation made by a resident of the town of Penetanguishene at the April 12th Committee of the Whole meeting, in which it was discussed that there had been a previous courtesy given, an historic courtesy given, where boats were slowed through the harbor, through the inner harbor, to respect and avoid damage to private property and or injury to persons on their docks within the inner harbor. He noted that this has seemed to have gone by the wayside, and if there was anything the municipality could do in terms of advising people of the dangers that happen as a result of wakes on the shoreline itself. So this had been discussed, I believe, previously about a year ago, in which there was a discussion of whether there was an enforcement possibility with respect to speeds within the harbor. Staff did some preliminary review and research on that and determined that it's really not an enforceable matter at this point, given the resources of both the OPP as well as the town staff, and so that wasn't a direction that we were going in. So as a way to assist and educate the public on it, we just determined, or a direction was given to staff to go back and consider how could the town support a courtesy sign in compliance with our own sign bylaw that would provide that same message that please be advised that there are sensitive land uses and natural heritage functions that happen on our shoreline, and that be mindful of your wake in the harbor.
Thank you very much. Sanders?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recall very well the presentation from the gentleman who was asking for the town's help in keeping speeds down on the bay. My concern is that this doesn't do it. If we have signs all over the bay that says watch your wake, I could still be driving down the middle of the bay at 50 miles an hour and watch my wake. And it doesn't accomplish the intent. And I'm not sure what the solution is, other than with the resources at hand, i.e. the OPP, to impose speed limits in the lower part of the bay, which is my understanding is where the major problem is. I mean, we have speed limits around town on roads, and the OPP don't, because of limited manpower, patrol those all the time. But I think if we were to put speed limits on the bay and enforce them, particularly strictly for the first little while, I think people would start to get the message. But to watch your wake, I'm not sure it's going to accomplish the objective that the gentleman had in mind for all the right reasons. And I would hate to go to the expense of putting up all these signs and the problem doesn't get resolved.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Andrea, did you check with the OPP on the legality of a speed limit?
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. We did last year preliminary reach out to the OPP as well as the Department of Fisheries, Oceans, and Transport Canada with respect to this. So there is some legal implications on how this would have to happen and how that have to be legalized to have a speed zone or reduced speed in the inner harbor, as well as reaching out just to the OPP. So in order to enforce a speed zone in the inner harbor itself, the OPP need to have some resources. I think you would all agree it doesn't do anybody any good to have a rule out there that is not enforceable. So such things as manpower from the OPP, additional boats or a boat to help enforce that the speed is where the OPP had some concerns and reservations. The second part of that discussion was also the timing it would take, and because this is a navigable waterway, we would need some interactions with the Transport Canada. So something like that wouldn't necessarily happen that fast either. It's certainly something we can continue to look at. But for the purposes of giving courtesy and notice to the boating community about the dangers posed with your wakes on the shorelines, this we felt was an appropriate message to give to the community. Perhaps just for council's information, Mr. Stone was able to review this report and provide some comments and recommendations onto what he felt was appropriate, and I can confirm he felt that what was proposed in the staff report was a pretty good job.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor was next, yeah.
Thank you. As a past boater, I certainly am in full agreement with this, and I think it's a start. And I also would say that most boaters would be respectful of watching their wake. What I would suggest is that the signs that are made up all be the same size, have the same wording, that we not let marinas do their own thing. I think we need to be consistent in our message. Going back many years, I think there used to be a sign at the end of our town dock that said, "Watch your wake," or something about wake. So I fully support this. I just think we need to be consistent in our signage, and please be considerate. Watch your wake. That's a lot of wording. I think it needs to be shortened up. Anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor, who hasn't spoken yet? Councillor Rawson? Oh, well, sorry.
I live in a reality world. Tonight we have 30 items, referral items. And we always want to get things done, but then we're asking staff to do new things, and then we wonder, what's the status on this referral item? Councillor Saunders brought up a little while ago about the Ojibwe landing. This gentleman comes up a little while ago about this week, and now all of a sudden we're buying signs. We're not going to be able to enforce it. We're not going to be able to do anything about it. This is a feel-good thing. This is no different than the smoking bylaw that came forward a couple weeks ago. We already have smoking signs in the public, and guess what? We want to reinvent the wheel and get smoking police officers out here to enforce it. I just think it's silly. I think staff have a lot to do as it is, and we're adding more things to the plate that we can't deal with right now. And putting a sign out there is kind of whatever. The day that the gentleman was here to do the presentation, someone brought up a point about Georgian Bay Township, and they said they've already invented the wheel. Let's find out what Georgian Bay has done. So my question is, did we follow up with Georgian Bay? And I guess I'll ask the CEO, do we really have time to be figuring all this stuff out on top of the 30 referral items that everyone wants to get done now? So 2 questions.
Okay, Mr. CEO, would you respond to Councillor Rawson's question?
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if Andrea directly followed up with Georgian Bay, but certainly I've had a number of conversations with Georgian Bay Township. And as the report alludes to at the bottom of page 1, there were discussions with the OPP in 2016, and it is quite a process and take years before any approvals would be granted. So hopefully that addresses the first part of the question. In terms of the second part of the question, I would suggest that there are a number of referral items and a number of things on the docket, but I think staff feels that at least going the route of the signs would not be a huge impact to staff workload. But in terms of going through the approval process and the application process for a VOR, I would suggest that would be quite a thorough and lengthy exercise for staff to undergo.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. The mayor was next, and then Councillor
Thank you.
Robert.
Thank you. I'll speak in favor of the motion, and we'll vote in favor of the motion. I think that's fine. I just don't need to look at staff, because I take Councillor Saunders' thoughts, maybe, so rather than watch your wake, maybe it's a recommended speed limit of 5 kilometers an hour, or whatever that might be. I'm sure the boating community could help you with the answer to that one, so maybe the word recommended versus that. The only other thing I'd say is you might want to consider reaching out beyond just the property owners that you identified here, the marinas, and actually talk to Will Baird at HHP, because he might be allow you to put a sign coming into the harbor from Magazine Island as well. It might be an additional spot where, we could at least ask Mr. Baird if he would consider allowing that to occur.
Thank you very much, Mayor Marshall. Every single boater on the water knows what watch your wake means, right, Anita? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Councillor Louder, and then I think we'll be ready to call for the vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hate to be the spoiler of good feeling, good thoughts. I am a boater, and I know from experience that the actual laws that get set out when you take your boating safety and all those sort of things is within 30 meters or 100 feet of shoreline, you have to have a reduced speed. So that's all well and good, but one of the comments is that if you come in through the center of the channel, as I do all the time, come in through the center of the channel, I don't know of any of the big boaters that would slow down to a 5 or even a 10 kilometer, because 10 kilometers would literally take you probably 7 minutes at least from the bottom, almost 10 minutes to get out of our harbor.
Oh.
And more than that. So what I'm saying is these big boaters that are leaving from the base, Beacon Bay and whatnot, are they going to take 10 minutes to get out and also come in? I think it's an unreasonable task to put forth on all our boaters. I do like the idea, and plus the other thing is that for a sign, those signs, because this is the law, all boaters that are coming into the harbor are not going to respect. So all of a sudden, now you have boaters that are going very, very slow and boaters that are going fast, and there's a lot of safety and confusion at the same time. So, and finally, the last thing is that the signs would have to be enormously big so that you could see them from the center of the bay where the channel markers are. So you'd have to have large signs, very, very noticeable, which would add a lot to the cost. So I personally feel that the signs that are going out here, message is much too wordy and whatnot, comment was made. I don't think they're going to be very effective, and as such, I don't see the real value.
Thank you very much. Councillor LaRose hasn't had a shot at this, so we'll do that and then we'll vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We need to get this over with. The first thing you need to understand is most of us that are boaters here, speed has nothing to do with wake. You can zip along in your speedboat going 100 miles an hour and make no wake. So it's not a speed thing. It's a wake issue. We can't enforce a wake issue, so we shouldn't be doing anything about it. But if we're going to do something, let's do something reasonable. I would suggest if you're going to look at that $40 or $50 sign, buy 5 of them, buy 6 of them, put one in the town dock, ask each of the marinas to put one up, and that's that. There's no use beating a dead horse. We can't have big signs. We can't have flashing lights. Council Rawson suggested speed bumps. They're just not going to work. So if we can't have that, I think just a few signs, the same one, please no wake, something similar, done.
And another boater over there at the end.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I also vote, I've voted the Georgian Bay too. A lot of times it's not really the speed. I don't know if any of you sat on top of the hill on a Sunday or a Friday. If there's not 100, 200 boats going out Friday night, 200, 300 boats coming in on Sunday, one after the other or 6 wide, how are you going to stop that? You can't stop that. It's just, like, don't forget, we've got, what, 7 marinas in Penetanguishene Bay? Like 7 marinas, and how many of these marinas, how many boats do they have? And I don't think the sign will do anything. And didn't we, I refresh my memory here, but didn't we have some students with the little boat out there trying to police slow down and all that? And I think some of those students said, I ain't coming back next year, because they were basically told off.
Yeah, it was 20 years
You got a
ago.
14-foot aluminum boat, and I've got a $250,000 boat, and you're going to tell me to slow down? And I think we're beating a dead horse here, sorry.
I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And defeated. Thank you, it's done. Like dinner. Okay. Referrals to upcoming agenda and staff. Referrals at the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. Oh, before I read them, does anyone have anything to add? Nope, okay. Thompson Road West Extension, Development Charges, CIP, Targeted Incentives and Opportunities, Land Inventory Analysis, Agribusiness in the Industrial Zone, Secondary Suite Report, Wake in Penetanguishene Harbor, Ojibwe Landing Update. Mover? Oh, question?
Yeah, I'd suggest that we take the wake in Penetanguishene Harbor off the list, considering it just happened about 30 seconds ago.
How could I read that and not even see it? I don't know. Thank you very much. That's a no-brainer. Councillor Saunders?
Just a quick question, Madam Chair. When will the Ojibwe Landing update take place? We're pretty much shut down as a council in the month of July. And this is an extremely important issue. And could we nail that down to perhaps September or August or June?
What's your advice there, Andrea? Would you like to move it to, I would suggest that we delay that until after the official plan update, which is, the planning department is not struggling, that's an appropriate word, is working very hard on, and we'll be holding public consults, et cetera. So you know your time better than I do.
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. I think this is probably going to be a collaborative effort between Brian and myself on the Ojibwe Landing update. I've put it in there that a summer 2017, and my intent was actually to bring it in front of committee before the summer recess.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the question, Councillor Saunders. All those in favor? Thank you. And question period from media and public? Seeing none, I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to item number 7, Section D, Finance and Corporate Services, and I'll turn the chair over to the Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our first item is our consent agenda. Recommended action that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. The North Simcoe Tourism April 2017 newsletter, correspondence from Simcoe County School Board re the trustee appointment, and correspondence for Tay Township re closest fire station response. Are there any questions on any of those items, or if anybody wants to pull one? Seeing none, I need a mover. Moved by Councillor LaRue, seconded by His Worship. Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Matters for consideration, we have the County of Simcoe Mutual Assistance Agreement. Our recommended action that council enter into a mutual assistant agreement with the County of Simcoe, and that a bylaw be brought forward to council authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into the mutual assistance agreement. I need a mover. Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Mayott. Discussion. We have our chief with us. If there are questions, Councillor Louder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My one concern is the fact that on page 83 of our report, but the employment relationship reads, despite that the employees, contractors, servants, and agents collectively known as the workers. I'm just wondering, should our volunteer firefighters be listed in there also?
Well, volunteer firefighters would be considered workers or employees of the municipality. So
they're considered employees?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. It's just that in the next item, volunteers was mentioned, but I understand what you're saying. I just want to make sure they're there. Thank you.
Further comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Our next is the recommended action. The council enter into the emergency social services agreement with the County of Simcoe, and that a bylaw be brought forward to council authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into emergency social services agreement. A mover. Moved by Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Louder. This certainly is extremely important at a time of natural disaster that would take place in our community or in our surrounding communities. It means that social services would come forward and help us through that disaster. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Referral items, that Finance and Corporate section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. Community engagement initiatives, land sale policy review, taxi license review, smoking policy on parks and town property, election 2018 timelines, composite fee schedule comparison, insurance joint RFP review, fire service review, Town of Midland partnership, referral item review, and fire permit fee review. Are there any additions to this list? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Question period from the media and public. Seeing none, Your Worship, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, and I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Rawson, Councillor Levy, all in favor? And we are adjourned at 8:26. Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Of course you do.
Yeah, just in time.
You have 1 hour
to
left.
Holy moly.
I missed by 12 minutes. I said 8:15.
Does anyone else get that annoying Microsoft scam?
Oh, I'm
I got
getting
3
that.
calls lately.
Yeah.
No, not the calls, but
Oh.